The Angry Marks Podcast Network is brought to you by WrestleWork, a social network to connect, create, and share everything about pro wrestling. Check it out today at WrestleWork.com.
You're listening to the Raw Reaction on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Monday night, Angry Tensai is here with my main man, Big Dick. Big Dick, welcome to the show tonight, buddy.
Thank you, brother. How are you doing this evening?
You know, Big Dick, I'm glad you asked that. Did you ever wonder how you could promote yourself for free as an indie wrestler? You being an indie wrestler?
I sit up many nights wondering that. If only I knew how.
Well, you could build up your fan base on your being an indie wrestler or a promotional profile at WrestleWork.com. WrestleWork.com. Join today and connect with the millions and millions of wrestling fans around the world. Vic, you could do that today at WrestleWork.com.
Angry Tensai, hold on 1 second. What was that website again?
It was WrestleWork.com.
WrestleWork.com. Okay.
Yeah, so
is this somewhat similar to, would you call this the back page of wrestling?
I would call it the social network for indie wrestlers, for fans, for marks, smarks, and anybody who wants to connect and discuss wrestling. That's WrestleWork, one word. WrestleWork, WrestleWork.com.
.com. Okay, that's
.com.
I'm gonna say it sounds a lot like the MySpace of independent wrestling.
Someone would say that it's the MySpace, Twitter, and Facebook of wrestling all rolled up into one on WrestleWork.com.
Wow, that's quite the site.
And you could even talk about Monday Night Raw on WrestleWork.com. So, for those of you listening to Raw Reaction, or some might even say WrestleWork.com reaction, you can talk about the show and the plugs here tonight. So, Big Dick, I have to ask you, although last week's Raw was one of my favorites, I was a little confused by this week's Raw. It jumped around quite a bit. And Seth Rollins obviously was a focal point tonight. What'd you think of the show overall?
I liked it. The crowd was hot. They took over the show at points. They booed Cena out of the building, so it was a true New Jersey crowd. I liked the overall show. A little confused at the end there, where they're going. I'm still waiting. I think we all know that Randy Orton and Seth Rollins are going to be wrestling at WrestleMania, but they're still building up to it, I guess you could say. So I guess it's a good thing. They said WrestleMania is 27 days away, so what's that? 3 more Raws, I guess, after today. So that's a little bit of filler. I mean, this was an entertaining show. I don't necessarily know if it was as good as last week, but love Jon Stewart. Thought he was great. Love the opening promo. The Wyatt thing's getting a little old. I think there's a couple of shoes that you're waiting to drop with the Undertaker accepting Wyatt's challenge, Orton, Rollins, and Miz and Mizdow, I think, are the three big developments we'll see in the next couple of weeks, and how that gets spaced out. It'll be interesting to see, but that's about it. And the one angle I don't like, I love the match. I'm not too thrilled with the angle where everybody just picking up the IC strap and...
No! Big Dick, that's the best angle they got going. You don't like that angle? If anybody likes nonsense, it's us. You don't like this angle?
I don't know. It's just... I just want to see a match. I love to see a match, and I think it should be... I mean, it's great that it's for the IC title, but it's just funny that they're just picking it up and everybody has it except for Barrett, and then Barrett looks like a moron because he's losing every week.
That's what makes it awesome. That he can't focus on the match, and R-Truth values the title so little that he keeps getting it and gives it to people.
That is pretty entertaining. I was listening to R-Truth on commentary, and that was pretty entertaining. He really seemed like he was just out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the whole deal. Obviously Wade Barrett can't focus. That's part of it. You have all these players in the title race, and in the end, whatever this ladder match is, it's very clear that it's going to feature Ziggler and Bryan, and I really appreciated their exchange at the end of the I think it was the Luke Harper Daniel Bryan match, which Daniel Bryan won. I really enjoyed them staring at each other from the rampway. You could tell that, in reality, this match should be between just the two of them, but, they're pretty pumped up about it. I think the fans are, and you're right. This was a very heel crowd, on Monday Night Raw today. They booed the crap out of John Cena and Roman Reigns, but they seem to enjoy the Intercontinental title race. You don't think so?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the crowd's eating it up. I think the crowd is absolutely loves Ziggler, and I think that Ziggler will probably win the match. This might even be the match that opens the show. I'm thinking either that or maybe Miz out open the show. But this could be a great match to really open the show and get things started and just build ahead, get the crowd on fire.
Yeah, man, totally. I mean, I'd agree with you. If Mizdow and Miz do start the show, it needs to be a quick match, and Mizdow needs to go over in a big way. But I would agree the ladder match would be well placed as the opener. And, you can discuss that. You can discuss card placement. I mean, for wrestling fans, you can connect, create, share anything and everything about wrestling. You know where you could do that?
I'm not exactly sure. I was gonna call you.
WrestleWork.com. And let me tell you, Big Dick, WrestleWork is all about giving the wrestling fans a place to call their own. And if you love wrestling, this is the place for you, Vic.
Now, what if I love apartment wrestling? Is there a specific forum that relates to that?
I assume you can talk about that on there. I don't see any reason why not.
That is a social network.
You know something? I saw something a little, I would say disheartening with Thunder Kittens. Do you know that, they're posting all these new matches as new, but when you go back to their Vimeo site, or whatever it's called, Vimeo, I don't know what it's called. What's it called? Your shirts are too tight too, Billy. Well, this Vimeo site, some of the videos are from 2012, 2013, that they're trying to pawn off as new videos. I don't like them showing me old content and trying to pass it off as new. That woman could have gained 50 pounds since that video. I'm not comfortable with that, Vic. I'm not comfortable with that.
But yeah, you have to wonder about some people. They just don't appreciate the new stuff.
Well, I'll discuss it tonight on WrestleWork.com. Another question for you, speaking of the females. Did you get a chance to see the Divas match tonight, Big Dick?
The Divas match, I liked it. My favorite, very obtainable looking superstar, AJ Lee from the great state of New Jersey. She's actually slept under underpasses in Newark, New Jersey in the past. True story. AJ Lee made a triumphant return and almost teamed up with Paige, I'm going to say. I don't necessarily know if this is there's obviously some heat backstage, but I think it was a mutual hatred for the Bellas that brought them together. So that was an interesting dynamic to see. And, at this point, the women's title is just so insignificant right now. I'm thinking it's either going to be a 4-way match for the title, a 3-man match for the title, or a tag team match.
Yeah, clearly those 4 will be involved in something. But,
unfortunately not Emma.
No, unfortunately. Paige literally was a second away from winning the Divas title tonight.
Yes, she was 1 second away.
Brie Bella broke up the PTO finisher at the end of that match. It was a decent match between Paige and Nikki Bella. Paige was in control, and it looked and felt like there was going to be a title change tonight, but did not quite happen. But the big development was AJ Lee returning. Now, I think most of you all know this, but AJ Lee is from Union City, which probably is, I don't know, I want to say like 15, 20 minutes away from Newark. And I actually dated a girl from Union City, in my college stint at a university in New Jersey. Don't give away too much here.
County Community College.
Yeah, I went to Cena Community College in New Jersey, and I can tell you something. Those women in Union City are no joke, man. It ain't, yeah, I'll tell you something. I've been down on Main Street, had some pizza at Pizzeria Bar E. That place is no joke down at Union City. Just saying.
Yeah, I was gonna actually say, I don't want necessarily call it dated, but, some girl from up that way as well. We had some memories in, lovely Belleville, New Jersey.
Yeah, it's a great little town. You know, and if you want to talk about Union City or be part of Union City, you can talk about it on WrestleWork.com. Just saying, if you wanted to do that sort of thing.
You know what? I think there are a lot of people that I almost say it's sort of a fetish. I know Bayville, we have a sort of our own little fetish, but
yeah, and you know,
I think is very similar.
You know what WrestleWork probably would appreciate if we could even mention some of their advertisers. You know, like Ringside World, like Will. I don't know what the hell that says. They got to change the color of their fonts. UFO Wrestling, dude.
What about the Undisputed Wrestling Show?
That's another one. Or Occupy Pro Wrestling. Power to the Smarks.
Or what about WrestleWork advertisers?
Them too. You know, they're very important. And there's that design company that literally has a font that looks like the other color, so I can't actually read the name of their company.
Miami Vice Wrestling.
It does look like Miami Vice, doesn't it? I think they should change their sign. Somebody. Yeah, I can't. If I could read it, I would. But I know for the best in wrestling, you can talk at WrestleWork.com right now. So if you're on AngryMarks.com chat, and there's quite a few people in the chat room right now, log off. Go on WrestleWork.com. Get out of the chat room. Go on to WrestleWork.com right now, and you can talk about the big interaction between Seth Rollins and Jon Stewart. Now, I'm not a Jon Stewart fan by any means, Big Dick. Tell us what happened here and what's been going on with Seth Rollins and Jon Stewart.
Well, I'm not actually sure. I think this started a couple weeks ago, and I think it was Seth Rollins made a comment, just something off the cuff remark about just, I could host a daily show or something like that. And Jon Stewart took it and ran with it. So he cut a promo on his show. I think Seth Rollins cut another promo last week. And then Seth Rollins actually showed up on the Daily Show this past week, live, and basically challenged Stewart to come out and sort of put his money where his mouth was with everything. So, lo and behold, tonight we have Jon Stewart making a short trip from Manhattan out to Newark, New Jersey, and coming face to face with Seth Rollins. This was a pretty interesting promo. He really ran down Rollins.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I was a little surprised with some of it, but it was interesting promo. Really, just continued to give Seth Rollins a good rub as a heel, and it looked like he was about to basically beat the crap out of Jon Stewart. Like, Jon Stewart said a lot of stuff that probably should have. He was about to get his ass kicked by Seth Rollins, and all of a sudden Randy Orton's music hits. Orton walks out on stage, walks down to halfway down to the ring or so, and of course Seth Rollins is very distracted by this, and gives Jon Stewart the opportunity to give Seth Rollins a swift kick in the nuts and get the hell out of Dodge.
I did not expect that. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it really was, because Jon Stewart, I mean, he was playing the wimpy comedian talk show host guy the entire time, so this fit pretty well with his act the entire time, and it was pretty entertaining, and it sort of built, or what I thought it was doing was building up some more heat between Seth Rollins and Randy Orton. Obviously, backstage, they were pretty upset. The authority, or not necessarily the authority, but Seth Rollins was pretty upset with Randy Orton. Randy Orton said, hey, look, you beat the crap out of Jon Stewart, and you're not going to have a job.
Well, you know, yeah, I think Randy Orton is trying to position himself some way into that world title match. I have a feeling there's going to be people added to that main event.
I don't know. I was actually hoping during the promo they did, I was actually hoping that Seth Rollins said that, hey, I'm basically going to say, all right, after the main event at WrestleMania, I'm going to cash in my Money in the Bank briefcase then. So like last year where you had Daniel Bryan coming out as a huge superstar, huge underdog with what's his name? With fighting Triple H first to earn his title shot. This would be sort of the opposite for a heel where, okay, you know what? He doesn't wrestle at first, or doesn't wrestle earlier in the show and just sets himself up for the main event, and he's gonna walk out there fresh and pretty much have a decided advantage of whoever he has to face, whether it be Lesnar or Roman Reigns.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of talk tonight, and that's why I brought up the Orton thing. There was a lot of talk tonight about, potentially a third man being added to that match when Roman Reigns tried to bait Seth Rollins into cashing in his Money in the Bank, and adding himself to that match. And, we're all reading on the dirt sheets the words between Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon having issues and not coming to agreement. And I'm starting to think the main event's up in the air, and WWF is kind of having a knee-jerk reaction to some of the backlash still around Roman Reigns. And I think the crowd tonight kind of reinforced that, although this was a very heel New Jersey crowd. I don't know. I get the feeling that first segment was placed for a reason. And yeah, it's reinforcing the visual that Seth Rollins could insert himself at the end of the match at any time after Lesnar and Reigns, but it also gives the idea that, another person can be added into the match. So that's another piece of thing.
I'd love it if he inserted himself into the match, because that would actually build him. That would actually seem like a little bit of a face move to do that, because he's like, okay, hey, you know what? I'm gonna cash this in, and you guys know it's coming. Whereas he reiterated tonight, hey, you know what? I'm going to use this when you least expect it. Nobody's going to see it coming. And he sort of he basically played up the advantage of having the Money in the Bank briefcase.
True. True. I mean, today, this was Seth Rollins' episode of Raw. I mean, think about it. They brought in Jon Stewart for him. So, I mean, it goes to show you that, Rollins is definitely not in the doghouse of the WWE, and they really do believe in him. So that's good. That's a good thing. You know what's interesting, Big Dad?
What's that?
Something very interesting. I don't know if you remember this from WCW Nitro, but we have a very special guest, and we're gonna actually relive a segment that is now an old part of WCW Nitro that's now going to be part of the Raw Reaction. Guys, we have Lee Marshall from The Road. Yes, Lee Marshall from The Road is calling in right now. Lee, where are you at? Hey, Angry Tansa! I'm in Bayville, New Jersey tonight, and all they're talking about is that Monday Night Raw and WrestleWork.com. Really, Lee, are they? Oh yeah, that WrestleWork.com, that's the best site. You're an indie wrestler that wants to get promoted, or you want to talk about Lee Marshall on The Road? You get on WrestleWork.com. I gotta go. The Bayville Diner, they're having a big sale today. You know what? Thank you, Lee. We're really excited to have you here. That's Lee Marshall from The Road. Glad to have Lee Marshall back here on Angry Marks. Wow. At the Bayville Diner, no less. Vic, remember Lee Marshall?
I do. A legend of WCW.
Wow. We are just blessed to have Lee Marshall here. They have Jon Stewart. On WWE, we have Lee Marshall. And let me tell you, I do agree with Lee Marshall. I would personally, if I wasn't on the air right now, personally, I would get off the air if I could and get on WrestleWork.com. Just saying.
You know, I'll do you one better. I would, if I were not on this show right now, I would drive over to Bayville Diner and get on WrestleWork.com at Bayville Diner.
They don't have Wi-Fi there, dude. It's Bayville.
Yeah, good point.
Anyway.
It's nice. Yeah.
So we got to see Cesaro and Tyson Kidd and Natalya tonight, the masters of the WWE Universe. You know, I don't know if you noticed this, but did you see Cesaro was rocking the headphones tonight? Maybe he's been doing that, but I just noticed it tonight.
I thought it was Kid who did the headphones. Did Cesaro start it?
They both had him tonight.
Really? That's interesting. I don't know if I like that or I love that.
I absolutely love it. They are becoming the ultimate team. Dude, they're awesome. I love them together. I actually would tell you that right now, I probably get most geeked up to see Cesaro and Kid. And most people like them because, like, they're such good workers and everything. But I like them because I think they're just such great dicky heels that I love them. And I love how they mistreat Natalya.
They remind me of... I was somewhat of a TNA mark when they had like Kurt Angle before the Aces and Eights pretty much ruined it, and they had a tag team of who was it? Bad Influence, and I'm drawing a blank on who that was. Killer Kevin, want to help me out here?
What a tag team on TNA? I wouldn't watch TNA if my life depended on it, but I might discuss it at WrestleWork.com.
Yeah, that's what we can discuss. I'm sure somebody at WrestleWorks.com is probably critiquing our performance right now, so I'm sure that they can fill everybody in on exactly that team.
Yeah, I don't know, Big Dick. I'm not really paying attention to you right now because the boards the boards and forums are on fire right now at WrestleWork.com. I mean, just fire. Like, why would you even be on AngryMarks.com right now when you could be on WrestleWork.com? Just saying.
Yeah, and you know what? If you're listening to this podcast later in the week, please do yourself a favor and stop. Get off AngryMarks.com podcast for Raw Reaction and go visit WrestleWorks.com and tell them that we sent you.
No, Vic, it's WrestleWork, not WrestleWorks. WrestleWork.com. That's my site.
Do we have to give our advertising money?
Just call WrestleWork. One, like you go to work, you know? Although in some places you might say I go to works, but not here. WrestleWork. You know, the integration of, you know, we went from like, I'd say 3 or 4 incredible Raw reactions in a row to having this alliance at WrestleWork.com to maybe having our worst Raw reaction ever. I guess I
don't know. I have faith in Kevin's ability to edit the shit out of this.
I can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, essentially, is what I'm telling you. But, you know, it's just, I wasn't really into Raw tonight like I normally was. I like Seth Rollins. I just didn't like the focus on him all show. I did love the John Cena Rusev segment with Stephanie McMahon tonight. I can't tell you how much I love that whole piece. That John Cena could be left off WrestleMania. Wow.
Oh my god. And the heel crowd, it's like they needed to tell him that.
Oh yeah. And Stephanie McMahon actually played almost the face role, and she ran with it. She even started giving love to the crowd, which I thought was amazing. And Stephanie came out and basically, well, what was funny was, see that first, he entered himself in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and Stephanie McMahon came out and essentially said, hell no, you're not entering yourself in that Battle Royal. You don't deserve to be in that Battle Royal, for sure. And she showed a picture about how Andre the Giant was her friend, and, you know, we know Macho Man was her friend. She was very big.
I was just going to say that. Future Hall of Famer Randy Macho Man Savage. I think that she might be doing the introduction.
Oh, man. That would be awesome if Stephanie gave the intro for Randy. Then they would really show that all is forgiven. You know?
Yeah, I have a feeling Vince is going to make her sit outside for that.
Possibly. Well, anyway, Cena declared himself for the title, or for the Battle Royal. She said no way. The only way you're going to be at WrestleMania this year is if Rusev lets you be in the Royal Rumble, or in the WrestleMania. Otherwise, you're not in it. You're not in anything. And the crowd ate it up. And Stephanie said, you know, I love this crowd tonight. I hate that yes chant, but tonight I love it. And lo and behold, who comes out but Curtis the Axeman Axel? with his Axelmania t-shirt, working to the crowd. And, the crowd really wanted to get behind Axel and Axelmania, but my God, he just does not have, even with something funny like this, he just can't sell it, man. The only thing he does well, as far as on the mic or on TV, is with Ryback. You put this guy with Ryback, he's gold, but you take Ryback away, he's terrible. And, Cena played a very cool part as Axel was doing Hogan mannerisms. Stephanie books a match, and essentially, Cena said, Axeman, I'll tell you right now, you either get out of this ring or you're gonna get hurt. And Axeman chose to stay in the ring, and he got absolutely destroyed by Cena. And then Cena was met by Rusev on the podium, or the ramp, and Rusev said, still hasn't changed. I'm not wrestling you at WrestleMania. Flag drops, Cena stunned. It was interesting.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sort of, I guess I sort of like where this angle's going. I don't know why, but I have a feeling it's going to be something where, I don't know, I think a San Francisco crowd is going to eat Cena up. Like, they're going to like him. So I think that they're just going to build it up where he has to overcome some sort of a struggle to get into the match. But I almost feel like there's a lot of that going on. I mean, we can name the card from top to bottom, but I mean, we're still waiting for the other shoe to drop with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to build that up.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna, at some point we need to, declare a match. So, you know what? Declare Mizdow versus Miz this week, Undertaker versus Wyatt next week, Cena versus Rusev the next week, and I mean, Orton versus Rollins at some point.
I think Cena and Rusev is going to go till the very last Raw, and Rusev is going to back Cena into a corner where Cena is going to do something extremely desperate and extremely heel to get himself into that match. And I think it's going to be very controversial. And I'm looking forward to whatever that is. I think they're going to really push the envelope with Cena and Rusev. And I don't really know how that is going to come to fruition, but it's going to be big because it's got to change Rusev's position. So if anybody has any ideas on how that's going to happen, normally I would tell you, put it in chat room, let Killer Kev know. I wouldn't do that. I'd go to WrestleWork.com and post it there. Just saying. Because you can discuss it on WrestleWork.com. This is our social network for us wrestling fans. The Marks, the Smarks, and indie independent wrestlers. Yes, indie independent wrestlers.
Independent wrestlers from Indianapolis? Interesting.
Yeah, yes. Indie independent wrestlers. They exist. There's independent wrestlers in Indianapolis.
I'm well aware.
But let me tell you something. The Angry Marks networks, these guys love independent wrestling. They love independent wrestling. Let me tell you. Now, one thing I want to ask you, Mr. Money in the Bank, Big Dick, do you believe that we touched on it tonight with Cesaro and Kid? Do you think they're going to take on the Usos at WrestleMania again, or do you think there's going to be other teams involved?
You know what? We haven't seen the Ascension in a couple weeks. I don't think they're gonna. I think their push is just about dead. Gold Cody is just about dead. And the primetime player is really, whatever. I think it's just going to be the two of them. I think it's going to be the worst match of the pay-per-view. I don't think many people care, at least about the Usos. But that's sort of what I see him being on WrestleMania. Maybe they do a two match pre-show.
Yeah.
With the tag titles and Goldust and Cody Rhodes, because I don't think. I mean, I love Cesaro, I love Kid. I don't like the Usos, and this feud just isn't doing it for me.
No, they got to move on. I'm just glad the titles are off the Usos. But
that's sort of the best thing about it.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, there are spots open at WrestleMania now. I think of some guys that don't have a place on the card. I think of one guy that stands out. I mean, we're all thinking it. We're all thinking, where is this guy going to go on the card? You're thinking it. I'm thinking it. Everybody's talking about it on WrestleWork.com. I'm talking about the man that walked away world champion after a struggle of struggles over 20 years, walks away with the title at WrestleMania 20. Chris Benoit, where do you put him? I mean, you got to put him on the card.
I'm thinking Royal Rumble. the $100 Memorial Battle Royal. I think that that would be a fitting event for him, and I'd pick him to win it.
Yeah, I would also pick him to win it because I know he's planning his comeback, and hey, I mean,
he just has a killer instinct that I just love in wrestlers.
He really does. He really does have a killer instinct, and I don't know if you know this, but he actually has been wrestling. Oh man, here you go, bro. He actually was under the mask for TNA's Suicide. I don't know if you know that.
Wow, I did not know that.
Everybody wants that character. That's who it was.
Wow, a little more nostalgia for you. You know how Ric Flair became the Nature Boy?
Yes.
The whole story behind that? Killer Kev actually became Killer Kev in an apartment wrestling match against Chris Benoit.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Killer Kev probably will retake the reins of Raw Reaction very shortly. And if you want Killer Kev take back over Raw Reaction, you know where you can talk about it? Where can you talk about it?
WrestleWork.com.
Absolutely. Now, I know I'm forgetting quite a lot more on the card tonight. What else took place tonight?
I like I feel bad. I feel like Curtis Hennig, Axl Rose is, I sort of feel like he's the new one-man band. The new, I feel like he's almost the new Punchline. I don't necessarily want to say Adam Rose because he's never really been a Punchline, but I feel like he's like the Heath Slater right now. I love him coming out tonight. Like the crowd was eating it up, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great segment there. I would actually like to see Rusev come out during that match and have Curtis Axel win.
No. I've been through that, man. Axel's terrible, man. They just gotta cut bait with that.
But you know what? I like the angle. I like it because he's just so freaking delusional, and he's really pretty much completely out of line doing what he's doing. But yeah, he was freaking. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. Maybe it was the New Jersey crowd that was healing it up too that helped out with that. But I mean, it was I enjoyed it.
Well, you know, I with Axel, I like him as a tag team wrestler. I liked him with Otunga. They were like decent tag champs in a point of time where there were no tag teams, and they were actually pretty decent. And you know, I think he was good with Ryback. I really did. I really liked them together. And you know, I don't know. I look at it now, and it's kind of like this guy never will be able to be a singles wrestler. Yeah, so what? He's got this fad gimmick right now. It's Axelmania thing. It's no different than like Fandango whenever that was hot. It's just a stupid little fad, and it's not like Daniel Bryan isn't a fad. He's legit, and you know, although he's got a little stupid gimmick, the yes thing to put him over, he doesn't really need it. He would have been over anyway. You know, and
yeah, I mean, he's a worker. Curtis Axel just isn't a worker like that. I mean, he can put on a decent match.
You make the gimmick. The gimmick doesn't make you. And that's what, you know, you look at Undertaker. He got handed the best gimmick of all time, but at some point, he stopped being the gimmick and he made the gimmick better. And that's what made it awesome, you know? And same with Kane. I mean, if you're great, you're going to be able to do it on your own. You don't need a gimmick because gimmicks aren't going to last. They are just that, gimmicks. And, you know, it is what it is. So, Axeman, good luck to you in Axelmania. I don't see it getting very far. I would assume John Cena's not in the Andre Battle Royal now, so I don't know. The Andre Battle Royal is just a big turd. It's stupid.
It's called Everybody Needs a Check for WrestleMania.
Well, that's what bothers me. Well, I mean, let me ask this chat room here. I'm not going to even ask WrestleWork.com. What do you guys think? So, you could have Dolph Ziggler versus Daniel Bryan in a ladder match, even throw in the Intercontinental title, or you could have Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, and 4 other guys in a ladder match to the Intercontinental Championship. What would you rather have? Personally, I'd rather just the 2 of them.
Yeah, I'd rather 2. But I you know what? I think that this is, I think it's an interesting dynamic because all 4 of them are good up and coming workers. I mean, I could see this being like a Money in the Bank or King of the Ring lineup here. So they're all younger, hungrier, up and coming, pretty much the future WWE. So I like, what's that?
You mean the 6 of them?
Oh, sorry, what did I say, 4?
Yeah, 6.
Yeah, well, the other 4 besides Bryan and Ziggler.
Well, I'm if you're going to have more than two of them, I'm glad R-Truth's in the match. I think he's going to surprise some people in this match for sure.
Yeah. You know, I'm a little disappointed that is not included in the match.
What?
That's right. A New Day.
Oh no, not
These guys are so positive. I absolutely love them.
You know, these guys are really positive. They're feeling really good out there. They're running on good energy. You know, New Day. I mean, everywhere you go, they're always smiling. What a stupid ass gimmick.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are some gimmicks that will absolutely destroy you. That's one of them. And the other one is running down the 5 best tag teams in the WWE history.
Yeah.
The 5 most badass tag teams.
There's this guy in chat, and I never really ever comment on the chat people. His initials are RTM, and he's literally commenting on every comment we make. And I can appreciate that, because that used to be my gimmick before I got on the air here. I used to just comment on every single thing. Killer Kev's RTM?
Yeah.
I don't know what RTM means. It's probably some sort of, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it means. It's probably somehow related to WrestleWork in some way.
It's longtime Angry Marks poster Rob the Many.
He's one of our guys?
He's been around for years. He's not been around the last couple of years. He's made his way back. Decent dude.
He's sort of like the Undertaker.
Well, knowing that he's one of our guys, I think he's a douche. That's all I'm saying.
Now be nice.
Well, he can comment all he wants, but he can't say anything because he's in a chat room. But
you just wait until he gets to WrestleWork.
Dude, WrestleWork. Let me tell you something. WrestleWork is the place to be. If there is a place that you can call me out and you should call me out, I would do it on WrestleWork. WrestleWork is the very, very greatest social network that there's ever been for wrestling fans. So if you're a wrestling fan, I would go over there. You know, Jordan.
I'm gonna go a step further. I think this is the next Facebook right here.
Yeah,
it really
definitely. My man
doesn't like.
He just called and he said, "Ant, you got to get on WrestleWork.com. This is the best site." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Absolutely. Even here in Canada, we're all using WrestleWork.com. So it doesn't matter what country you're in. It doesn't matter what continent you're on. It doesn't matter who you are. You can join WrestleWork.com.
It doesn't matter what third world country you're in, i.e. Canada. WrestleWork.com is the place to be.
You don't even need to have running water like in Sao Paulo, Brazil. But you know what? you go on WrestleWork. And Big Dick, I gotta ask you this. I don't know about you, but when I'm really tired, like tonight, for instance, which I haven't been the last few weeks we're on, I tend to start repeating my words over and over again. So if I'm tired, it's not like I'm trying to buy myself time. I literally get stuck on the word that I'm saying, and it just keeps coming out that same word over and over and over and over again.
So if you just start repeating WrestleWork.com, I should say, Angry Tense, I wake up.
I don't know. I don't know why that's happening. It's like, and it's not a stutter, because I don't stutter. It's literally like a tick in my brain that's stuck. And it's like someone needs to come up from behind me and like hit me to get me going again. It's crazy. It really is. I think, I guess the segments were really long today because I feel like we didn't really miss anything. I guess the one thing to bring up is in the main event that Rollins and Reigns, they had their match, and before it, Big Show and Kane said, "We got your back tonight, Rollins. You're not going to need Randy Orton's help," essentially. Randy Orton said, "I'll be there anyway if you need me." And, this was a hotly contested match. Anytime you get former Shield members against each other, it's going to be a good match. And, what I thought was interesting was Randy Orton wound up interfering in the entire melee and basically pulled at Roman Reigns' leg and cost him the match intentionally to help Seth Rollins win. And you could tell after the match, Randy Orton was very pensive about what he did, but you can tell his character is doing that to stay on the good side of Seth Rollins. Interesting all around.
Exactly. I almost feel like this is an angle where they're trying to get Rollins to turn on Orton. Like, Orton could come back and he could be justified in beating the shit out of Rollins, but Rollins is towing the company, or Orton is towing the company line right now with the Authority, and I think that they're just going to wait, and it's going to be Rollins who snaps that Orton, and it's going to be against what the rest of the Shield want him to do.
So you're saying you think Orton's going to play both sides within the Authority and get Rollins to a breaking point where he actually gets himself thrown out of the Authority for losing his cool.
I don't know if he gets thrown out of Authority, but he's going to be the aggressor with Orton. That's going to lead to the match. Like it's going to be something where feels like he got screwed over. Orton stole his thunder, and it might come this week. It might come the next week. It might come the Raw before. I don't know. It's going to be interesting because like we were saying, I mean, there's a lot of steps left before this card's put together completely. I mean, I think we can pretty much name every match. But you know what? I mean, they still need to put the pieces together, and how they do it, it's gonna make or break these next couple Raws. I mean,
I agree.
If we could skip a couple Raws and still pretty much wake up 3 weeks from now and say, hey, you know what? Time to watch WrestleMania and watch it and love it. But it'll be interesting how they build these storylines up the next couple weeks. I think the Wyatt Undertaker one is going to be something phenomenal. At least I hope it is.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, they're not giving us too much just yet with any Undertaker type signals back. I do think we're going to get some kind of. We're not going to see Undertaker for WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure of that, but I expect some sort of gamesmanship back from Undertaker, kind of like Sting was doing to Triple H. Actually, you know what? We forgot about Sting Triple H. I do want to talk about that. Thank God we didn't forget. How could we forget that? My goodness.
We're saving the best for last. We're so infatuated with WrestleWorks.com that
You know what, dude? You're right. I really do believe Sting Triple H is the best, and I'm excited for that. But I do expect Undertaker to ramp up in the next couple of weeks, maybe even next week, some kind of signage and some kind of tokens to Bray Wyatt, and it'll be cool to see. You're going to see druids, you're going to see all kinds of things, and hopefully you'll see Kane get involved for Big Brother. But you know what? I don't think that's going to happen. It'd be cool, but I don't think WWE is going to go back down that route, to be honest with you. But Sting Triple H, I definitely like tonight's segment. I love all the WCW references. Sting has really gotten under Triple H's skin, for sure. And Booker T's comments about Sting not having an open door to come to the WWE, and he suspects that Triple H has kept him out of it. Triple H showed Booker T the kind of power he has, but said he would not have wielded that power to keep Sting out. But if he did, I'll give you an example of power. You're fired, Book. And then as Book is walking down the aisle to leave, Triple H says, I never meant to fire you. I just wanted to show you the power I have. Lets Booker T go back to his seat. Triple H is rattled. He's a desperate man, and he cannot wait for 27 days. He wants to get in the ring with Sting now. What do you think of this desperate Triple H?
You know what? If this were a fight in the street or even a fight at their peaks, Triple H is a freaking monster, and Sting is not in very good shape. I think that Sting will get his freaking ass kicked just based on that. However, in reality, I think Sting plays the mind games, comes up with something, and he gets the win.
Really?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain of that. I mean, because basically what Triple H is saying with all this is, hey, you know what? I'm going to cost you your legacy. Like, you could have walked away, had video games, get all this. So he's basically saying, hey, you know what? I'm taking away Sting's legacy from him in this match because he didn't want to.
Triple H going to lose at WrestleMania, though? I don't see any way Sting loses his first WWE match and maybe his only match. But I like that Triple H is so willing to put people over now. But last year, I love Flair's segment a couple weeks ago when he talked about people told me Triple H is going to fight Daniel Bryan. I said he wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes with the game. And then he hung with you and he won the match. It's because you're not doing it full time. And I thought that was so cool because what Ric Flair's words mean something. And I truly believe in my mind and in my wrestling mind, I was so bothered by Daniel Bryan beating Triple H the way he did. Ric Flair rationalized that for me, and he made me feel like Daniel Bryan didn't really beat Triple H. He just beat some guy that came out of retirement, after not wrestling for a year. It's kind of like when people were calling for Kurt Warner to come back to the Cardinals this year after 4 years of retirement. we know what, it sounds great. It would have been cool to watch, but it ain't the same guy that was throwing the ball around the yard 4 years ago. Same thing with
same thing with the Packers every year. If what's his name ever gets hurt, guess what? Brett Favre. Oh yeah, he's only 50 years old. Card him out there.
It's true though. I mean, Daniel Bryan was at the top of his game at that point, traveling all around the world, and Triple H hadn't been in the ring in over a year, and it actually makes sense now to me. Like, yeah, Flair's right. That wasn't the same game we saw. And let me tell you something. If this was 2004 Triple H against Daniel Bryan, we all know what would have happened.
It's not pretty.
That wouldn't have been 5 minutes.
Daniel Bryan's not even on the card.
And honestly, Batista fought, most people forget, but when Daniel Bryan came up from NXT, he had a match with Batista, and it was like a beat the clock match, and Batista beat him. He almost caught him with the S lock, or at the time it was Cripple Crossface. But Batista beat him in like 5 minutes. That's fact, Jack.
Yeah.
One
of my favorite parts of Raw, I don't know if you saw this, during the and to foreshadow a little bit, last week on Raw, apparently, and you correct me, you've probably read the dirt sheets a little bit more than I have. Brock Lesnar was scheduled to appear on Raw last week. He was in the building, and they were basically discussing his post-WrestleMania contract extension. Apparently, Vince McMahon put something in there that he really didn't like. He got upset, and he basically hightailed it out of Raw and did not make an appearance. Is that more or less how you've heard it?
Yes. Which led Paul Heyman's comments tonight.
Yeah, but before that, during the opening segment, when it was Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns in the ring, somebody in like the first row on the hard camera, or opposite the hard camera side, held up a sign that said, "Eat, sleep, no show, repeat."
Wow.
And I peed a little bit when I saw that sign. I thought it was, they definitely won Raw, or won the Raw sign contest.
I just don't get why WWE could have, had their chance to re-sign Brock Lesnar. You just don't mess with that. I mean, he's the one guy that brings legitimacy to everything they're doing. And they might not only not re-sign Brock Lesnar, they might get to this guy to the point where he's a breach of his contract and doesn't give a shit and no shows WrestleMania.
Or even worse than that, if you no-show WrestleMania, you can make it up. Even worse than that was his match, WrestleMania 20. I was there in the flesh.
Yeah, man.
Great main event with Chris Benoit having the confetti rain all over it. It was a glorious main event, possibly the highlight of his career. And during that pay-per-view, there was a match. And in 2001, he said, "Oh shit, dream match, best match ever. Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg."
Yeah, I remember. And you know what's funny?
It was horrible.
I didn't care about any of that stuff that was building up to the match. I just thought to myself, regardless of if both guys are leaving or not, we're going to see this dream match, and one of them is going to go over. And to me, I thought that was the coolest thing, that somebody was going to win that match. And it didn't really bother me for the match until the guys got in the ring and didn't do anything. And that was
rest hold 10-minute match.
Dude, there's only 2 wrestling matches I've ever seen where I felt ripped off. That being one of them. And the other one was, and I did not see the finger poke of doom, by the way. I was watching Raw.
That wasn't a pay-per-view.
No, I know, but I was watching Raw thanks to Tony Schiavone. But I remember a TNA pay-per-view, and I think I bought it, actually, which is pathetic. It might be the only one I ever bought. And it was the Jeff Hardy Sting.
Oh, God. Yeah. That was pretty bad.
And it was like, what? Although, you know what's funny? I did want to see Sting beat Jeff Hardy anyway, and I didn't really understand what was going on. And it was so cool to watch Sting destroy Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, and basically you could see after, it was funny, I was actually watching something like most controversial finishes or something. I was like on like some webpage and just had like the top 10, and that was one of the top 10. And like, I remember seeing the highlights after the match, and they basically showed, Sting had like blood coming from him, because basically what they told Hardy was, hey, he's going to hit the Scorpion Death Drop, get a 2 count, and you're going to kick out. And Sting just held him down there so he could finish the match, win the match, and get him the fuck out of the ring.
You
He
know,
had like blood coming out of him from Hardy was like pinching with his fingernails and shit, trying to get up.
let me tell you, man, TNA, what an unprofessional piece of shit wrestling organization. To put Sting and Jeff Hardy in that situation where one of them can get hurt, you could tell Sting was disgusted. But to put Sting in a position where he has to Scorpion Death Drop someone who is incoherently high or drunk and hope they land the right way, it's an insult to wrestling because there is an art to taking a bump. And to send those guys out there like that, not cool, man. And it's why TNA is a mockery to wrestling and why it is such an embarrassment. And honestly, I think TNA is the biggest piece of shit that's ever lived, and I will never watch it again. I would never even give it the time of day. And honestly, the only thing it has done since that moment has given us such great fodder as aces and eights, and take shitty WWF superstar, make up crappy name, insert joke, 91 days later, here comes so-and-so into TNA. I mean, that's the only value of TNA. But
it's gotten to the point now where people don't even go to TNA anymore. They go to like Ring of Honor.
I agree, man. They go to the good independent wrestling federations. Ring of Honor has a good product. Some of these other federations have good products that we don't get to see, but TNA is not a good product. Any federation that burns out their talent and makes them do, 10 days of taping in a row, 4 shows in a day, and then says, oh, okay, you guys are off the next 3 months. That's all you need to know about them, but neither here nor there. So WrestleMania is coming. Another week of build-up. I think we might have lost Big Dick. WrestleWork.com, the ultimate social network site, and WrestleWork.com is frequented by our very own Undisputed Wrestling Show. And Killer Kev, who will be on the the Undisputed Wrestling Show this week?
Good question. Let me take a look at that real quick.
Is it by any chance my man who did Mr. Luger?
No, it is not.
Is he ever coming on again?
Never know.
I love that guy. Have you talked to him?
I talk to him almost every week.
Really?
Yep.
What's he up to?
He's out there kicking ass and taking names.
Does he know that I'm a huge fan of his?
Yes, he is aware.
Really?
Yes.
He's had to have heard me talk about him. He is one of the coolest guys ever. He came on here, gave a great interview, and he literally, do you disagree or agree with me? That literally, on the true marks, he could be one of the most memorable characters in wrestling for marks. Would you agree?
I would agree.
I mean, just what an awesome promo to be part of such history that wasn't intended on being history. It was a great moment.
I'm sorry, I lost you there for a second. Having some technical difficulties there.
I know you have, and you were just on WrestleWork.com. That's why.
Yeah, you know what? It's actually, this might be a little TMI here, but this entire broadcast, I've been doing nothing but chatting and setting my profile and really diving into WrestleWork.com while masturbating profusely.
Kev, have you set up your profile yet on WrestleWork?
Yes, I actually did set one up this afternoon.
What's your screen name?
Killer Kev.
Mine's Sexy Kitten 69.
There you go. Tomorrow night on the Undisputed Wrestling Show, in the first hour, you're going to love this. We've got the franchise Shane Douglas.
Awesome.
Awesome. In the second hour, we're going to have Jason Saint from IWA. Now, did you get a chance to listen to last week's show yet?
No.
No. So that means you missed the masterpiece Chris Masters?
I did.
Then you need to go download it. It's up there right now.
Oh well. You know what you do? Do me a favor. Not that you'll do it, but it'll make me feel better to know that you have the opportunity to do it. Tell Shane Douglas that I truly believe, and I mean this, you've heard me say this here on the air, during his ECW years, he was the best frickin' promo guy at that time there was. Better than Nash, better than anybody. Man, some of his ECW promos, I've been watching so much of it in WWE Network. Man, he was just on fire, man. Just some of the best stuff that only, true ECW fans saw.
Who are we talking about?
It's all there on the WWE Network. It's all there, man. You could watch some.
Wait. I think you mean WrestleWork.com.
Dude, come on.
Oh,
I love Shane Douglas. Big fan.
I
But
know that's probably all right.
We've got some other big names coming up as well here in the next couple of weeks. You're going to hear from the Blueprint Matt Morgan.
nice.
You're going to hear from independent wrestling star Trina Michaels.
Angry Tensai, aren't you and Matt Morgan neighbors in the state of Connecticut?
We're not. He's in Fairfield, and I'm up in northern Connecticut, but he must have money if he lives down there. Quick, let's not just glance over that. Are you talking about adult film star Trina Michaels?
Yes, one and the same.
Wow. Will she be video chatting this interview, or will she just be talking?
I don't believe she will be pulling a Sunny, no.
I guess I shouldn't say anything ill of her since she's going to be a guest, but it must not be easy being her.
Well, she does keep the two profiles separate. When she's on a wrestling show, she's talking about wrestling. When she's doing something with pornography, then it's pornography, and she doesn't mix the two. So
even if she was interviewed by an angry
business and pleasure.
I mean, but seriously, dude, come on, man. You know what? I'm going to do a little Danny Doring here on Jasmine St. Clair. Danny Doring's right. I mean, dude. I mean, come on. I mean, we know what she's known for. I mean,
right, and she doesn't make that secret.
Okay, that's all I have to say. So, I mean, it's a shame that she's probably talented with wrestling, and she's very limited because of it, unfortunately.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think she sees it as limited. I think she sees herself doing exactly what she wants to do.
I'm walking a fine line here, and I gotta be careful what I say, and I would say that this is one of those controversial topics that if you wanted to discuss something so I don't know, controversial, you know where you talk about it, Kev. Where would you talk about it?
You can talk about it on WrestleWork.com.
Damn straight you can.
And speaking of controversial, coming up in the near future, we're also going to have the Zombie Princess, Jimmy Jacobs.
What about UFO wrestling?
I haven't checked out UFO wrestling. Should I?
I don't know too much about them, but I know that they are a WrestleWork advertiser.
There you go. Then perhaps we should go check that out.
What about Occupy Pro Wrestling, Power to the Smarks?
We should check that out too. We should check out everything.
Ringside World?
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know. You're just talking about a lot of independent wrestlers that are going to be on Undisputed Wrestling. And I just think that those type of wrestlers, they should promote themselves with their event for free. And they could even build their own fan base with their own profile at WrestleWork.
There you go. There you
go.
I
like that. I like that idea. We should start a website.
Why? Why? Why should we start a website?
So we can advertise on WrestleWork.com.
That's a great idea. Anyway, that's all we have for this week, unless you want to add anything, Big Dick.
You know what? I think this has been a pretty entertaining episode of Raw Reaction. This is the first one in probably about a month that I haven't fallen asleep during. So that's a big plus for me.
This is the opposite for me. If it wasn't for WrestleWork.com, I would be on my ass asleep 30 minutes into the show. But I'm working so hard to fit the plugs in. WrestleWorks got their money's worth, man. I must have said their name 99 times.
You realize that with a little bit of editing, you just left yourself wide open there, right?
For what?
You just said that you could have spent the last 30 minutes trying to fit your plugs in?
Anyway.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a reach there, Cat. Sorry.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a reach. Anyway, this was a great Raw reaction. An average Raw. And you know what? The food was great, but the Killer Kev was excellent, and the Big Dick was even better. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining Raw Reaction. And now for myself, Big Dick, and Killer Kev. Killer Kev, hit the plug.